So I had the craziest and most vivid dream I have ever had in my life. I'm not sure what it all means, so I was wondering if someone could help me out. I've never posted anything like this up before. I feel this has something to do with a lot of new changes going on in my life, and I feel this dream is a sign to either move forward or reconsider my options. Thank you for your time, as I know it is long. I tried to be as detailed as I could when it came to clothes, people, places, and what they said to me. If you need any further information, feel free to let me know. Thanks again. So the dream started out in a church. It looked like a Catholic-type church, kind of like the Vatican, big and very extravagant. Being that I have been to the Vatican before, I know what it looks like. Well, anyways, I somehow ended up getting in a fight with some Mexican thugs. During the fight, I got shot in my lower back closer to my left side. After the fight was over and they either ran or got killed, the priests came over to me and told me that they had wanted them gone and only wanted white people in their church, because ever since the Mexican people had come into the church, there had been a lot of stabbings and shootings. I am a full-blooded Mexican and Spanish is my first language, so this is in no way a race issue. After I left the church, I started walking and ended up in a Christian church. I am a baptized Christian. I grew up in a Catholic home but converted when I was 18. I've been backsliding for the past couple of years and have pretty much been following the Catholic traditions when it comes to baptizing my child and marrying. As I walked into the Christian church, my wounds still bleeding, I came up to a bench where my wife was sitting and I asked her to take me to the hospital because the shots were lethal and I was going to die if I didn't make it there in time. My wife is not Christian and grew up in Catholic beliefs, so I'm not too sure why she was in a Christian church. She was never really too happy accompanying me in the first place when I used to congregate. She looked over at me, ignored me, and kept doing what she was doing, so I told her, "Sabes que pues vite a la verga," which translates to, "You know what, go to hell." So I left and started walking out. When I reached the outside, what kind of looked like an alley parking lot, there was another young girl walking. She offered to take me to the hospital. She seemed very happy and joyful. When we reached what I guess was her house, there was a very humble car in the driveway. She told me that that was her car to get in and she would drive me to the hospital. On our way there, I started some small talk, being that I think she was wearing some kind of cheerleading outfit or something like that, so I asked her what school she was going to. She told me she was going to college. She told me she had a boyfriend and was very happy with him. As we got closer to the hospital, I asked her what she was aspiring to be and she said a singer. I told her that I knew some producers and that I would be able to help her out if she was interested, in a way returning the favor. I didn't have any business cards on me at the moment, so she gave me hers. When I got off of the car, I went towards the back as to get something out of the trunk, and a lady met me there. She was holding what I could have sworn was my daughter. A sudden urge to live and make it to the hospital as quickly as possible, as well as a sadness, depression I could not explain, came over me. She put her arm on the right side of my lower back as to escort me into the hospital. She then placed my hand in her stomach. When I looked down, I realized she was pregnant. She said something to me, but I don't recall what it was. I then hurried into the hospital. When I entered the hospital, there were a lot of people inside. There was some kind of nursing program with students going on inside the hospital, and the entrance to the was blocked and crowded. As I tried getting in between the crowd to make it to the registration, I fell and started bleeding out. I could feel the puddle of blood expanding under my body, reaching my face. I could smell the blood in real life. A student quickly came over and put himself over me and yelled at some other doctor, saying that the wounds didn't look good and that I had been bleeding for a long time. During this time, I knew I was about to die, but I kept telling myself I wasn't ready, that I couldn't die, that I had to keep fighting. During this time, I started to pass out because of the blood loss. As I started to fade away and the people started to turn into blurs, a man appeared in front of me holding a toddler. He then threw the toddler to the ground with a decent amount of force and said, "This is what," not sure which one it was, but it was either "what's going to happen to your child" or "this is what you're doing to your child." I felt like I was leaving them behind. After seeing the child hit the floor and hearing the man speak those words, I completely passed out. I kept fighting with my eyes, trying to keep them open to not die, but I couldn't fight it anymore. My eyes shut for what felt like milliseconds. When I opened them, I could see a huge room with very dim lighting. I could hear another man in the room, but I did not want to get up yet. I kept closing and opening my eyes, hoping that I would wake up elsewhere. I was still telling myself that I couldn't be dead, that I would soon wake up and I would be in a hospital bed with tubes all over my body and loved ones around me, that this could not be the end for me. Eventually, I accepted whatever it is that happened to me, and I got up as if nothing had happened. I looked around the huge room, and I could see big arcs all around, and man throwing a bucket of water into what seemed to be a well or some kind of indoor pond. He resembled a custodian with the keys on his belt and a yellow mop bucket, and one of those strollers that custodians in school use when they go into the classrooms to pick up the trash and clean up. I asked him where I was and he didn't respond. He just looked at me and kept on with his job. I woke up afterwards, but when I started opening up my eyes in real life, I could still see the big room with the arcs. It wasn't until a couple of seconds when my eyes started focusing that my room started to come into view. Not sure what this all means. If someone could help me out, please.
Hi. All churches are institutions for spiritual growth and development. Some people call church the spiritual hospital. Getting into a fight with the Mexican thugs represents parts of your life that is conflict with yourself, your close circle, and your spiritual beliefs. Our back supports our arms, which are responsible for lifting things up. Lifting up could also be a metaphor for helping others. Being shot in the left side of the back could represent something you may have done wrong in real life had backfired on you, and you are experiencing feelings of being held back, backsliding, enemies or demonic forces trying to keep you back to render you totally helpless, even paralyzed. The priests telling you that they only want white people in church because the Mexicans were the violent people causing bloodshed among the innocent people could signify that you probably were a very self-righteous, hypocritical person who was ready to condemn everyone who did not belong to your religious denomination, because part of you had this feeling that you had to do something to prove yourself worthy of God's favor so that you can be saved from sin. Ending up in another church represents that there was still some uncertainty in your spiritual walk. You did not feel fully grounded in your beliefs, and the other church was another place where you felt comfortable, and another area for guidance and reassurance. Your wounds bleeding represents that you feel that you are losing the power to continue on your spiritual path or in some other area of your life. You are feeling exhausted, you are at the brink of giving up hope, you are beginning to feel that all is lost. Meeting your wife at the Christian church and asking her for help, and when she refused you began swearing at her, represents your period of trial and chastisement. Your swearing represents your carnal or unholy reaction, which is a natural human reaction when they are weak in their religious faith. Coming to an alley, parking lot, means that you find yourself at an unavoidable halt in some area of your life. The young girl who is happy and helpful to you is a spiritual guide giving you a message that you need to humble yourself with childlike faith and accept your chastisement with joy, because the Lord chastens whom He loves. You started a friendly conversation with the girl who told you about college, her boyfriend, and said that she wanted to be a singer, and you promised to help her once she can return the favor. This could represent another aspect of your character. You are probably a person that expects to be compensated for everything you do in real life. Have you ever been called upon by the leader of the church to offer your services to help the less fortunate, to contribute towards charity, or to sing in the choir, but you refused to contribute to help others because you felt that you wasn't going to benefit anything from it? If yes, then this part of the dream is a warning to be more selfless and not selfish. Don't give to get or give out of obligation. Instead, give out of love, because God is love, and when you give with this selflessness, you would get back 10 times to 100 times more in the areas of your life where you need it most. If you are in the passenger seat of the car, it means that you don't have that much control. Reaching to take out something from the trunk of the car, which is the back end of the car, could again be a pun on you backsliding again, which you did mention in your dream. The lady who you met by the car who appears to be holding someone who you felt was your daughter could represent your spiritual mother, And a mother's role in a child's life is to nurture and mold that child. Your daughter represents the tender side of yourself that is in need of spiritual nurturance, tender love, patience, and care. Your urge to live with mixed feelings of sadness and depression means that the spiritual battle between good and evil have you feeling worn out and torn. But although you may be going through the fiery tests, your willpower and the help of God is giving you the strength to not give up. The lady placing her arm on the opposite side of the wound on your lower back to escort you to the hospital, meaning that God is leading you to the right path where you would get help. The lady taking your hand and placing it on her belly, and when you look down you realize that she was pregnant, means that you are beginning to grow in your spiritual life. God is taking you to a new level, where something new in your life is going to birth forth and blossom into something beautiful. Hustling to the hospital could represent your feelings of anxiety and nervousness about time running out on you before you complete the journey. The nursing program going on represents that you are finally learning your lessons from your experiences, and that there are other people in your life who have to face some of the same challenges that you are facing right now. The entrance to the being blocked and crowded could represent feelings of being stifled, not able to catch your breath. Everything seems all confused and jumbled up to you right now, and you're not quite sure how to piece the puzzles of your life back together. Laying face down on your stomach and bleeding so much that your blood is forming a pool all around you means that you are feeling weak. You feel as though the life force is being drained from your body, as though you have no energy left. Your eyes are the gateway to your soul. To dream your eyes closed then open, you are still struggling to work out your salvation. The dim-lit room represents that you are at the crossroads and you have an important decision to make, and you need to choose wisely or you could end up in a dangerous situation which could represent eternal damnation. Hearing a man in the room, but you didn't want to get up, but was hoping to wake up in a hospital with tubes all around you and surrounded by your loved ones could represent a message that you was refusing to acknowledge, and you were hoping to have the easy way out of this important life lesson. Your acceptance to everything that has happened to you shows your surrender to the Supreme Master of the universe. You finally understand that there was no easy way out, and you had to go through this testing to learn your lesson, and you've come to realize that God appointed you to a high calling. The arcs in your dream are symbols of security and support. God has His angels guiding you every step of the way. Now that you've come through safely from the spiritual refining process, the custodian and his cleaning utensils in your dream represents the cleaning up process of your life. Congratulations. You are now a brand new person, Holy Ghost filled, water baptized, polished and purified. Now that you've passed your tribulation period and have proven to be holy in the sight of God and man, the keys on the custodian belt is symbolic of power and authority, and now God is granting you a new life with power and authority. Maybe God is going to make you a pastor or deacon in the church, and you have to use the gifts that God is giving you to help others and to lead them to the path of righteousness. You are very privileged to be called by God, and you would have no regrets from here on, only blessings and prosperity.